The U.S. has continued to tout itself as a great beacon of freedom and democracy, and that's supposedly since the country was founded, it was the real essence of freedom, and that's what the American Revolution was all about. Well, the International Criminal Court doesn't seem to agree with the United States, and in fact, they're calling for an investigation into U.S. actions in the now 2-decade-long Afghan war. Once it became clear that the U.S. would be investigated for its war crimes in the 2 decades-long war in Afghanistan, several key figures of the government have come out threatening the ICC. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo announced that the U.S. will deny or revoke visas for ICC staff. He said the restrictions include persons who have taken action or request or further such an investigation. Pompeo also warned about potential economic sanctions if the ICC does not change its course. Now, notorious war crime advocate and U.S. security advisor John Bolton blasted the organization and allegedly called it out for perceived bias against the United States and Israel.
The United States will use any means necessary to protect our citizens and those of our allies from unjust prosecution by this illegitimate court. We will not cooperate with the ICC. We will provide no assistance to the ICC, and we certainly will not join the ICC. After all, for all intents and purposes, the ICC is already dead to us. The United States bases this policy on 5 principal concerns about the court: its purported authority and its effectiveness.
Well, those are certainly some strong words. Now, undeterred, the ICC spokesman Fadi al-Abdallah made it clear that they intended upon doing their job regardless of the feelings or the actions of the United States. He said the ICC was an independent and impartial judicial institution crucial for ensuring accountability for the gravest crimes under international law. The ICC, as a court of law, will continue to do its independent work undeterred in accordance with its mandate and the overarching principle of the rule of law. The ICC was established in 2002 under the Rome Statute and joined by 123 countries, but ICC membership was never ratified by the U.S. Senate, and the America First administration of Donald Trump has been a particularly virulent opponent. It's very clear here that the United States fears an investigation into war crimes committed by the country. I think it's pretty obvious at this point that the entire Afghan war, and not even just the Afghan war, but the entire war on terror, has been a war crime in itself. Already, Bush and company were convicted in a foreign court of having committed war crimes. I mean, of course, the court had no jurisdiction in the United States, and it tantamount to nothing, but at least it's some kind of precedent. To say that the United States does not carry out war crimes is simply false. 1.5 million people have died inside of Afghanistan. Were all of those Taliban fighters? I think not. Now, let's even add to the recent bombing of the Doctors Without Borders hospital inside of Afghanistan. The United States government claimed that there were insurgents in the building. That was a lie. They claimed that they didn't know that it was a Doctors Without Borders building. That was a lie. In fact, Doctors Without Borders contacted the U.S. when they were being bombed and told them to stop bombing them. Not only that, Doctors Without Borders tells militaries where their hospitals are so that they don't get bombed. So even after the United States was aware that it was a hospital, they continued to attack it. And Doctors Without Borders were rightfully furious about this and the people that died as a result. There is one war crime right there. The deliberate bombing of a hospital is a war crime. And that alone is enough to convict a great deal of people inside the U.S. military, and possibly even people higher up who may have actually ordered it. Not to mention, we have a ton of examples of crimes that have been carried out in the Iraq War, in other arenas. The sanctions against Venezuela are, to many international experts, a crime against humanity right there by itself. So as this whole occupation of Afghanistan is now, reaching its second decade, it's very clear that investigation needs to be done. And at this point, I think that it's important considering that the U.S. occupation has essentially failed, and they are now engaging in peace negotiations with the Taliban in order to secure a troop withdrawal and try to leave while trying to save face, a la a kind of situation that took place with Afghanistan, with Vietnam. Because it's very clear at this point that the U.S. is not going to win the war on the Taliban. I mean, that's very clear that even after all this time, they can't even secure half of the country. So there are crimes that definitely need to be investigated and carried out. And of course, the United States is making threats against anybody who would dare question them. So they claim to be the champions of freedom and democracy and human rights, more human rights than anything else. And then you could point to all kinds of things, the entire prison industrial complex, extrajudicial police killings, the spying state, the NSA spying on people, and all kinds of other measures. It's very clear this is a terrible hypocrisy by the United States. And frankly, there's a lot of human rights violations that need to be investigated.
Thank you for watching. If you like this program, then please head over to my Patreon page and set up a monthly donation. It's your donations that keep this program running. Also, if you would like, please rate, comment, subscribe, and share in various social media.